Well, good evening and welcome everybody. To start with, I'm just going to do a quick sound check and to check that you can see my screen. If you can do both, would you mind typing in to the question box, yes you can, just so I can check you can all hear me and see my screen. Right, okay, fantastic, lovely. Got lots of yeses coming through. That's lovely, thank you. Okay, so this is Claire Jarrett, otherwise known as the top-ranked AdWords trainer worldwide. And today I'm here to tell you what is Google not telling you when it comes to setting up an AdWords account that will mean that 90% of every pound or dollar that you spend will be wasted, both now and in the future. Well, in the next 60 minutes, I'm going to show you the correct way to set up an account to keep the money in your pocket, not Google's. Okay, so tonight I'm going to share with you on this workshop 7 secrets to AdWords success for AdWords virgins. So now if you're on this webinar, I know you're concerned with setting up an AdWords account and giving Google your money with no or very little return. So in the next 45 to 60 minutes, I'm going to reveal exactly how to set up your AdWords account so it delivers leads quickly. When Debbie from Best Health in Bristol attended my courses, she started receiving leads for her medical insurance business that very same afternoon, so that's how fast it happens. By the end of this webinar, you'll also know exactly how to pick keywords that will result in sales, not wasted clicks and money in Google's pocket. When Laura McCrum from Hollywood Tower Conference Centre attended my course, she added £50,000 in new bookings to her turnover within just a few weeks. Nearly all of those keywords were not suggested to Laura by Google, as Google's objective is to make it cash, not the business owner. So before this call ends, you'll know my 4 crazy little tips for writing adverts that will double your click-through rate overnight. When we applied these techniques with Louise Waham from Bristol Ground School, we quadrupled the click-through rate percentage overnight, and their business became so busy they started struggling to keep up. Google does not offer you any real help with writing adverts because it prefers you to accept all the default settings and leave it running, draining your cash 24/7. So we have only an hour here tonight, and I'm going to be flying through everything we have to cover. Frankly, no matter how fast you can take notes, I'm going to be moving that fast. You might not be able to take it all down. But rather than worry or get frustrated, what I'm going to do is at the end of this call, I'm going to tell you how you can get a recording of this call absolutely free of charge, only to people who are on this call today. That way you can listen to it again and catch any points you may have missed the first time round. Okay, so nearly everything of what I teach you today is normally hidden from you, as Google has created its system to make money for itself, not you. Right, okay, so we've got our agenda on the screen, things we're going to be covering. And I'm going to be going through why most AdWords accounts don't work at first, how to avoid the Google default settings, keyword research that brings in sales, the 4 crazy advert writing tips that many of you are probably, well, it would double your click-through rate overnight, so you really benefit from knowing, why you must be tracking your results, why you can't leave your account running by itself, and why there's no magic button. You can't turn AdWords on and off, it does need work. Okay, so AdWords does work for all type of businesses. So here's some examples of the type of businesses that it works for. Okay, so we've got local businesses, florists. So I've worked with people in all these different types of industries. So we've got florists, locksmiths, electricians, plumbers, nurseries and private schools. So local business, AdWords will work for you. If you're in the business-to-business market, it could work in a variety of different industries. These are just some that I've picked that I've worked with and had success. Email marketing companies, web design companies, marketing data companies. I've got some of you on this call tonight who've got e-commerce websites. So here's 3 examples of types of businesses that I've worked with where AdWords has worked. So children's clothing, plumbing supplies, ski wear. If you set up an AdWords account correctly in any sector or industry that sells any type of physical goods or services, you should be making an average return of anywhere between 5 times your spend back and up to 25 times your spend back, and sometimes even more. Okay, so here's an example when I was working with Paul and Richard from plasticdrainage.co.uk, they were spending £2,000 a month on AdWords and making £50,000 per month in sales. You know, so that's an example of an e-commerce website. So they sold plumbing materials. Okay, another example. One of our clients is Graham Holpenny, our painter and decorator. They spent £450 to date, and Belinda told me that so far that had generated £35,000 worth of sales. You know, an astonishing amount. It's absolutely fantastic. Okay, so before we go any further, I just want to point out I will be taking questions at the end of the seminar, so I won't be stopping throughout the presentation. I'm going to stop at the end to take questions. So if you've got any questions, if you just want to hold on to them for now, and then you'll be able to ask them to me, ask me them at the end. Okay, so to start with, so this is our first one, why most AdWords accounts don't work at first and why you can't rely on Google to tell you what to do. So to start off with, I want to demonstrate to you what AdWords is and the biggest mistake most people make. So at this point we're going to jump out of the presentation. I'm going to take you actually into AdWords. Right, now apologies if sometimes the screen can appear slightly shaky when I jump from one to another. That's just down to the internet connection between me and you. So if me jumping from one tab to another appeared shaky, then that's what's happening, is I am going to be jumping from one tab to another. So apologies for that. Okay, so I'm going to start off with my one of the industries I've spoken about. So I'm going to start off by looking at a florist in Bristol. I'm going to zoom in a minute just to make that a bit easier for you to see. And I'm going to demonstrate to you which are the AdWords adverts, because in some cases, occasionally people don't know. So I'm just going to point this out to you. Now there is a cream coloured box just here which has 3 results in it. Now this cream colour box has started getting paler and paler, and the reason for that is because Google would rather not have to tell you it's an ad. So it would rather that you thought those were natural results. So lots of people tell me, I never click ads. You know, I make a real point of never clicking AdWords ads. That's often because they don't realise. So at least half the time, and there has been research produced on this, at least half the time people clicking in this box don't realise that these are adverts. Now what I want to show you is the overall point with AdWords is the fact that I've typed in just a couple of basic keywords, florist Bristol. What I want you to notice is the fact that every time Google's found the word florist Bristol, it's actually placed it into bold. So we've got florist Bristol here in bold. Okay, we've got the word flowers in bold, the word floral in bold. That's because Google thinks those words are close enough. Look at this one here. This one just says same day flowers. Okay, what flowers we've got in bold? No mention of Bristol. Okay, then here we've got Interflora Bristol. Now, what you should ideally be trying to do is what this top one here has done. Okay, so in the top bit of the AdWords ad, where quite simply, it should match what the person's typed. So this is the classic mistake that people make, is they quite often try to put their company name into the heading. They don't realise that whatever these keywords are here, so Florist Bristol, that should match the advert. Okay, so Florist Bristol, you need to match that with your advert. So quite simply from that, you need to make sure that you've set up a fair number of groups, one of which is going to be for each of your keywords. So if you identify 20 keywords that you want to bid upon, you're going to need 20 groups with 20 adverts. So you need one advert for each. And the reason for that is each of these keywords needs its own advert. Now you can occasionally get away with, you might be able to have florists Bristol. Okay, so you can have a keyword which is actually a plural of another. So florists Bristol. But in competitive industries, can you see how the results changed? So Serenata Flowers has now fallen down here. We've actually got a different one, Sentiments Flowers, that actually has florists Bristol. So you can see these have actually gone to the hard work of creating adverts even for singulars and plurals. Okay, so That's how far you can break it down. So one of the key things that I want you to take from this is the fact that the whole point of AdWords is making sure that you set up enough groups so that every keyword can have its own matching advert. It really is as simple as that. And that's why lots of people that set up their accounts and they only set up one small group with one advert and they set up dozens of keywords, they wonder why it doesn't do very well. It's because that advert can't match all of those keywords. You know, it's just not possible. Okay, so this really is the overall point with AdWords, is the fact that it's one keyword in a group with a matching advert. Okay, it really is as simple as that. Okay, so let's jump back into the presentation. Okay. Now, which slide were we on? I believe we were on number 5. Okay, no, obviously number 6. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why it's nearly impossible to set up an AdWords account by yourself and get it making any money straight away. And if you've just tried to set up an account quickly by yourself, whether you realize it or not, you will have accepted all of Google's default settings that are to make Google money, not you. And I'll demo these settings to you shortly. So when one of my clients that I previously mentioned, Bristol Ground School, has set up an account by themselves, they were shocked when I audited the account and reported back to them what was actually happening in the account. They were being matched against lots of really irrelevant keywords that they didn't realize they were being shown against. Okay, so some of these keywords were dangerous to their brand as they involved some, shall we say, worrying type of keywords, okay, that I won't go into here. So you need to learn to be aware of these type of keywords. So where the adverts were not matching the keywords, like I've just shown you, okay, so I've just shown you need to very carefully, closely match the advert to the keyword. So where that was happening in this account, the click-through rate, that's the percentage of people that saw it, that clicked it. So the click-through rate was just 0.23%. So that's a very low click-through rate. So you'll be aiming for a click-through rate of at least 1%, ideally. So due to this problem, they had lots of problems with other factors in the account, such as quality score, etc., that we won't go into today. But what happened is once all the errors were corrected, the click-through rate improved over 1,100% in a 3-month period. And what happened is they then had so many leads and sales coming in that the whole company was rushed off their feet dealing with the huge increase in business once it was fixed. But that's because they tried setting up an AdWords account and accepting all of the default settings. So you have to be really careful when setting the account up. Okay, so here's some of the settings that you need to watch out for. Okay, so there's 4 here that I'm going to very quickly explain to you. So the display network. When you first set up an account, you'll be asked to set up a campaign, and the display network, most of the time you're told by Google to leave it on. Now you won't realize, but the display network is a series of blogs, forums, unrelated websites, anything to do with your topic, your advert can appear on. So any ad that actually has what's called Google AdSense running on it, so that means that they're receiving ads from Google, your ads can appear on through the display network. Now, typically you only want your ads showing in the Google search engine if somebody searches for your product or service. So what's the display network got to do with it? Why does Google leave it on deliberately for beginners? Unfortunately, it's because it's where Google is getting the majority of its money. Okay, so I'm just going to very quickly, I'll jump out a minute. I'll go and demonstrate to you what a Google AdSense ad looks like so that you'll know the type of thing that I mean. Okay, so so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a blog site. Okay, so this is a blog site which receives blogs about dating, love, marriage, anything like that. Okay, so nothing at all to do with what these people who these people are here on the right hand side here. So we've got some iStock photo. Okay, so we've got some ads appearing on here. Okay, we've got ads appearing. Where else have we got ads appearing? Okay, so we've got ads appearing in here. So here's another advert. Okay, here's another advert. Okay, now here, obviously that ad's fairly relevant, so that's not quite too bad. But the bad news is the fact that your ad will be appearing in front of hundreds and thousands of people's websites from people who aren't even searching for what you sell. You know, and this is where Google's making most of its money, is by telling you to leave this setting on. So you have to really be aware of this setting. Okay, so let me just jump back into the presentation. Okay, so that was the display network. The search partners. So we had somebody in our Red Hot Web Leads group the other day say, you know, why are my ads showing on eBay? And the reason for that is because the search partners were on. Okay, so they needed to go and turn the search partners off. So search partners are other search engines that get their results from Google, where they don't have to run their own website, they don't have to run their own advertising campaign. But it includes things like eBay. So you could have bargain hunters on eBay looking for flowers, for example, or looking for dried flowers, seeing your ad for a florist. And then if they click it, it's going to cost you the same amount of money as if your ad was appearing in front of somebody who was genuinely looking for a florist. So that's what the search partners are, and you need to be quite careful of those. Now, I'm not saying that the search partners never works, because sometimes it can in some cases, but most of the time for beginners, this is another of those features that you need to make sure that you've turned off. Now, enhanced CPC. Okay, that, you know, to beginners, what on earth does that mean? What it means is that if you tell Google what your daily budget is, these days, it automatically sets your bidding to enhance CPC. So let's say you told Google that you wanted to spend £10 per day. It would set your bid price to make sure it always spent your money every day. So it would put your bid price, how much you were willing to pay for a click. It would actually set your bid price to very kindly make sure that it got rid of your budget for you every day. How kind of it. So that is obviously another feature that is to make Google money, not you. So you need to watch out for that, and you need to make sure that you don't have enhanced CPC bidding on. Okay, and that happens a lot on accounts that I audit. And there's another setting. Okay, so when you're adding keywords to your account, there is something called broad matching, which many of you, if you've tested AdWords in the past, you will have broad matching on your account by default, whether you realize it or not. So what this means is that your keyword will be matching against anything Google thinks is in the slightest related. Okay, so as you'll see later on, I've got a demonstration of where something that I was looking for, something that somebody looked for, they were looking for dog training classes, when I was actually promoting Excel training, as a Microsoft Excel training. So that's one of the dangers of broad matching that you have to watch out for. Broad matched keywords mean that you can end up spending a lot of money. Okay, so you need to be aware of that. Right, okay, so you have to watch out for all of these four, and I'm going to show you now how to watch out for them, how to make sure that you've not actually got them on. Okay, so I'm going to show you now live how to set up a campaign to make sure that none of these default settings are on. Okay, so I'm in an AdWords account. Okay, so I'm imagining that you've set up an account, which is you've just gone to adwords.google.com, you've set up an account, and the next thing you'll ask to be, and that Google will ask you to do, is set up your billing. Okay, so the billing, which is here, just to very quickly explain to you before we jump into the default settings, billing can be either post-pay or prepay. So post-pay is where you pay afterwards, prepay is where you pay in advance. Now for beginners, please make a note of this. When setting up an account, I strongly suggest you accept the prepay option. So prepay means you can load the account, a bit like your prepay mobile, pay-as-you-go mobile. You can load the account with £10, £50, £100, whatever you want to load it with for your test, and Google will not spend any more than that. Okay, so I strongly suggest that when you first set up billing, you use the prepay option. Okay, so I'm going to very quickly show you how to set up a new campaign. So this, you'll see an option similar to this when you actually open AdWords and when you set up the billing. So if I've gone into a new campaign, here's what I just mentioned as the first one to watch out for. Okay, so we've got search and display networks, and look, it even says best opportunity to reach the most customers. No, it's not. The display networks means that it will appear on hundreds and thousands of blogs and forums and all over the place. What you want, okay, so make a note of this, is search network only. And that means it will just appear in google.co.uk and google.com, you know, so just in the search engines if somebody looks for what you're selling. Very important. Okay, so I'm going to select search network only. And it's then straight away taken me into the rest of the settings so I can start going through some of the other defaults you need to watch out for. Okay, so in order to be able to see many of the features I'm talking about today, you need to make sure that you have it set all features. Okay, so you can see here at the top I've got options standard, all features. Now even this, if you had set yours to standard, it means Google hides some of the options from you. So not only will you have default settings that you didn't know about, you can't even see them to undo them. So you need to make sure that you accept all features. Okay, so do not just accept standard or else it hides some of the options from you. Now here's what I was telling you about the search partners. So networks, where it says include search partners, I would untick that box. And that means it won't appear on eBay, it won't appear on Ask Jeeves and places like that. Okay, so anybody is partnered with Google. Okay, so I would untick that. Right, what else do I need to show you on the default settings? Okay, so something else I would just very quickly demonstrate here is locations. Let me choose. You might want to have yours running just in London, for example, whichever city you wanted to run it in. Okay, so if you wanted to set a location, this is where you can do it. So not a default setting, other than to just say it would default to UK by accident, or wherever you're from if you're not from the UK. So we do have people on the call here from Australia and the States. Okay, so we've got London, and I could then just add that, and can you see it now says it's targeting London. Okay, so as simple as that. Now that enhanced CPC that I told you to watch out for. Now on mine it's not set as default, mainly because I've set up campaigns before in the past, but I've noticed with all of the new accounts for my clients, this is what it says. This one here. AdWords will set my bids to maximize clicks within my target budget. That means enhanced CPC. Okay, so that means AdWords will set your bids for you to make sure it spends your budget every day. So you do not want that option on. You need to make sure you select, I'll manually set my bids for clicks. Basically, any automated option you can see in Google, do not let it. Okay, it's as simple as that really, because any automation, the majority of it is there to make Google money, not you. It might appear that they're trying to help you, but unless you know what you're doing and you're regularly able to monitor it, it will just end up costing you a lot of money. So please turn automatic settings off. So anything like this, just be very, very careful. Now a default bid, I'm asked a lot about bidding. So a normal bid would be anywhere from 10 pence all the way up to £25. You know, it entirely depends on your market. What is a bid? A bid is how much you're willing to pay for a click. So let me give you some examples of click costs. It's £18 if somebody was to click my advert for AdWords training or AdWords courses, you know, so that's like extremely expensive click. Some locksmiths whose account I work on, their bid, £8, £8 a click. Okay, I'm sure you'll probably be thinking differently about clicking on people's ads after this. many of you won't realize quite how much it costs for every single click. We'll have some people's e-commerce websites. So let's say that it was some type of children's wear. Maybe, what was it I bought recently? A trunky, you know, one of those little sit and ride cases for my 3-year-old. So a bid for that might be probably e-commerce websites, generally a fair amount cheaper, 25 pence. Okay, so that would be an example of bidding types, and that's how much you would want to, bid on those type of keywords. Okay, then you would then set a budget, which is, it won't suggest defaults for you here, luckily. So you would then set your own budget, which could be £5 per day if you were just running a test. It could be anywhere up to £50 per day. Okay, and you would then just ignore everything else and save it, and that would be your first campaign completed. Okay, so you do need to watch out for these 4. Trying to right click on that slide, that's not going to work, is it? Okay, so just to reiterate, those are the 4 that you need to watch out for. In particular, I've just demonstrated a couple of other settings for you as well. So have the display network off, search partners off, enhanced CPC should be off. On mine, it wasn't a default setting. If yours is a new account, it will be. Okay, then the broad matching keywords. Okay, so you need to make sure that those are off as well. So I'll come back to that later on. Okay, so keyword research. So on to point 3. So we've got 2 different ways of doing keyword research. We've got the Google AdWords keyword tool, and then a tool that I'm quite fond of at the moment, which is Word Tracker. But let me just go and show you the Google AdWords keyword tool to start with. Okay, so it's actually within your AdWords account. It's under Tools and Analysis, Keyword Tool. Okay, so Tools and Analysis, Keyword Tool. Okay, so this is where I suggest all of you start in order to get some keywords, because it's the keywords that you need in order to be able to do the rest of the account, really. Until you've got some keywords, until you know what you're going to be bidding on, you can't go any further. So you really would start with keywords in terms of the actual doing. So what we would do is this is very recently changed as well, even in the last couple of weeks. This is how fast Google changes. They've now changed the Google keyword tool to the keyword planner, and they've made it so that you need to have an AdWords account in order to be able to access this. So what you would do is, it still works a fairly similar way. You would click on search for keyword and ad group ideas, and then I would just type in something like, let's go back to my florist Bristol. Okay, it's automatically set to United Kingdom. Double check that because yours might not be. And then I would just literally, I don't put anything in here, don't put anything in here. All I do is a starting keyword, and I use that to give me some more ideas. Okay, now it will try and suggest some grouping. Don't let it, okay? The grouping it suggests here is not the most effective way. It might be, well, in fact, I can't think of any time when it ever would be. No, in fact, just don't accept the ad group ideas. Okay, so I would strongly suggest that you go to keyword ideas instead. And what I want you to look at here is the fact that it then comes up with some other very similar keywords. So we typed in florist Bristol. It's then given us florists Bristol, florists in Bristol, florist in Bristol. So you can see we've got all the singulars, all of the plurals, similar words, okay, etc. Flower delivery Bristol. So hundreds and hundreds of different keywords here. And you could then download it. So here's the download button here. It says download ideas. So you would download that and then identify some keywords that you wanted to set groups up for. So I'm not going to do that now, other than to just point out to you where the button is, and you would then open an Excel spreadsheet, and then it's really easy to work through once you're in the spreadsheet. So what I would suggest that you do is just literally just pick a handful of keywords to start with. So you would start with florist Bristol, maybe then do the second keyword, florists Bristol, florists in Bristol, and then just literally just start setting up groups for these handful of keywords. But I promise you I would make sure that you actually picked keywords that resulted in sales. Okay, so what type of keywords would they be? And they would be the keywords for local businesses. They would be florist Bristol would be a keyword that would then bring business. Okay, so what you would not want is florists just by itself. That's too short a keyword. You might end up bringing in people who are looking for flowers in London, flowers in Edinburgh. Okay, you're much more likely as a beginner to get good results if you include keywords like this, florist Bristol. So for local businesses, make sure you include the town name. For e-commerce websites, okay, I would suggest you use longer tail keywords such as, you know, that children's pink trunky that I was telling you about that I bought for my daughter. So children's pink trunky, children's blue trunky, anything like that. Those would be keywords that would result in sales. What I would not do is bid just on the word trunky, because it's just too general. People haven't decided what colour they want. They haven't decided, you know, whether it's a boy trunky or a girl trunky that they want. So you would ideally just not bid on the word trunky or trunkies. Pick the longer tail keywords. If you're in B2B, pick keywords such as, say you were in email marketing, you would want email marketing company. Okay, so a longer tail keyword. Or maybe you might want local accountant in Reading if you were an accountant. So let me go and show you an example of a keyword list once you'd completed it. Okay, so we're on slide 9. Okay, so I noticed, so that I've actually taken this live, I've done this live for one of the attendees for tonight. So Torwood House School are probably very surprised at the moment. I noticed that you were in our delegate list registered for this evening, so I thought I'd pick you and show you some examples of type of keywords that I would suggest you go for. Torwood House is just up the road from me, so that's one of the reasons why I picked them. So here's an example of the type of keywords that I would pick. Nursery in Bristol, nurseries in Bristol, Bristol Nursery. Okay, we've then got the fact that obviously they're an infant school, a private school as well. So private infant school Bristol. Can you see how it's all mentioning the word Bristol? And then lower down, okay, so we've then got nursery in Clifton, so that's a district of Bristol. Nursery in Redland. Okay, so we've then got some extra districts that you could include as well. If you wanted to go even further, it would be a good idea to actually consider all the other smaller districts as well, all the way nearby. And that's what I do with locksmiths, is with locksmiths, we get all of the districts of Bristol and actually have like locksmith Ashley Down, locksmith Coombe Dingle, locksmith Cribbs Causeway. You know, we have all of the districts of the area. And you know, for a local business, that can really work in certain markets. Okay, so over now to point 4. Okay, so here's some examples of little tips. So as I've said, my 4 weird little tips for advert writing that should double your click-through rate overnight. So remember, click-through rate is the percentage of people that see it, that click it. So what I would suggest you do is write in what's called title case. That means you capitalize the first letter of each word. Why? It's just been proven time after time to work, so it's now become standard best practice. Secondly, make sure the keywords are in the advert heading. Okay, so I've already shown you that that would then mean that it would appear in bold in the heading. So whatever your keywords are, they go in the heading. And that then means that they will appear in bold, and it means that people are more likely to click it. Thirdly, try asking a question. It could be something as simple as, are you looking for? And then you could say, nursery in Bristol, for example. So are you looking for a nursery in Bristol, question mark. Okay, so it could be a question of any type, but the key is that they subconsciously think yes to it. So because they subconsciously think yes, they click it. And you'll notice that even if you do nothing other than just include questions in your ads, then the click-through rate should double, you know, pretty much double. Questions in ads really, really work. You know, it's a really, really strong feature to try. Okay, so fourthly, include figures wherever possible. So any type of number. So it could be dates. Let's say, for example, you were running a course or you were running an open day. Okay, so if you can include the date in there, then do. And you could also try putting prices in as well. So that's maybe if you've got an e-commerce website, you could try putting prices in. For locksmiths, you'll notice that a lot of them, you'll probably get one or two in each area that are actually including prices in their ads, you know, sort of like £49 call-out fee. I saw somebody in London advertising the other day, and you know, £60 fee, etc., that type of thing. So if you could include prices in your ads, then do, especially if not many other people are doing it, you know, then it will really make you stand out. So what I thought I'd just do now is just quickly jump back into AdWords and just go and have a quick look at some ads. So in fact, let's stick with the same theme. Let's go and have a look at some nearby nurseries. Okay, so I've typed in Nursery Bristol. Let me just do a critique of some of these ads for you. So Abbey Wood Tots here, we have Nursery Bristol written in the heading. Okay, in this case, we have the heading and then line 1 running next to each other. Okay, the heading isn't that long, just to point that out to you. So when you come to create the adverts, that might puzzle you. Why is it not that long? That's the heading. That's line 1, but Google does this special thing where it runs them together sometimes if they're in the top 3. So there's no real rhyme or reason why it sometimes suggests, you know, why it sometimes selects you to do that. It just seems to sometimes pick advertisers for that. So this is the heading part, Nursery Bristol. Okay, so they've got that right. That's fantastic. For excellent care and education, a safe and secure environment. So what they're doing is they're using their USP in their advert, which is, you know, it's safe, secure. Well, I suppose not that that's going to be unique. I'm told most nurseries are. But they're trying to get across to, you know, they're addressing parents' fears, which is the fact that nurseries sometimes don't get the best of presses. People want to know that their children are going to be safe when they're away from them. So they've actually got, you know, like a safe and secure environment. They've actually got that written into the ad. So that's, you know, addressing people's fears. That would really work for an ad. Okay, let's look at the second one. So here we've got Childcare Bristol. Okay, so I think possibly a little bit on the lazy side. You would think that they would actually have Nursery Bristol then taking them through to a nursery page of the childcare website. But here they're presenting themselves as an alternative. So find a local babysitter, nanny or registered childminder. So you've got alternatives, none of which actually mention the word nursery, which surprises me. That ad isn't one of the best ones that I've seen, to be honest. There's definitely a lot of improvements that could be made there. This one, I think this, just look at the URL. It says, sorry, URL, that's me using a terminology you might not be familiar with yet. Apologies. So the URL is the domain name. Okay, so the domain name, www.daynurseryinbath.co.uk. So for those of you that know the Southwest fairly well, you'll know that Bristol and Bath, you're not going to send children to Bath if you're in Bristol because it's an hour's drive away. So this ad, I would strongly say they're out of their area. They're targeting the wrong area. Definitely something wrong there. This particular nursery needs to look at their AdWords campaign, and they're probably wasting a lot of money. So that's some examples there of some well done ads and some not so great ads. Okay, and then we've normally got up to 8 down the right hand side here, but can you see how we've not got any ads showing here at the moment? Okay, so let me just go and see. Let's go back to Florist Bristol just to point that out to you. Okay, so these are all ads as well. So we've got 3 in the cream colour box, and then we've got up to 8 down the right hand side. Okay, now the reason why there weren't any down the right hand side for the nursery in Bristol is the fact that there aren't that many advertisers on it. It's it's not that many people actually advertising on AdWords for nurseries. It's quite an untapped market for Google, funnily enough. There are a lot of markets like that out there, especially in local businesses. So there's just not enough advertisers. There was only 3 advertisers. There weren't even enough to appear down the right. Okay, so it would be a good idea for you to check how many advertisers there are in your market as well to see what your competition's like. Okay, so let's jump back into presentation. Okay, so we just covered those 4 little tips. There weren't any that had dates and prices in this case, but it would have made it really stand out if they had done. Okay, so point number 5. So why you've got to be tracking if AdWords is bringing you sales. So how can you tell if AdWords is bringing you sales unless you're tracking it? So you must be optimizing for your account around the keywords. What is working for you? So you should not optimize blind. You must find out which keywords are bringing you leads, which keywords are bringing you phone calls. So how can you tell what's working unless you're tracking it? And one of the biggest mistakes that I find people doing is they've actually got an email address on their website, or even worse, they've got nothing other than a phone number. So you can't even track web leads at all. What are you going to do on an evening if people can't call you? You know, you have to make sure that you have a way of tracking it. Now, the best way of tracking it is through a form. Okay, so you would have a small contact us form. You don't put an email address, and the reason why you don't have an email address on the website is if people click it and send you an email, you can't tell what keyword they used in AdWords. But if you use a web form, then you can actually track that back to this specific keyword that they used. So it's very, very clever how it does it. So what you need to do is make sure that you have a form that goes to a thank you page, and on that page, that's how you can tell that there was a conversion. And then you can also track phone calls in as well. Okay, so very, very important. It's especially easy to track phone calls on your mobile phones. So you must be tracking it. So this is what, if we take over an account and clients haven't got conversions set up, then this is what we call optimizing blind. It is very, very difficult. You need to, if a keyword's working for you, you need to put the bids up. You're willing to pay more for that keyword. Okay, so it does make sense that you need to make sure that you know what keywords are working for you. Okay, so why you can't leave your AdWords account running by itself. So what happens if you leave it running? Okay, so you're going to get huge amounts of wastage. Your adverts need testing on a weekly basis. So which advert's delivering best results? So ideally for all of your groups, you need to be running tests. And you test one advert against another. And you need to find out which one's doing best. And you then pick a winner. Okay, so that's one of the things that you need to make sure that you're doing on a weekly basis. Any new keywords that are discovered by Google, you might need to add them back in as new keywords because they're good keywords, but you might need to remove them and add them as negatives. Okay, so there's my example that I mentioned previously. Once I paid for the keyword dog training, and I only discovered it because I was regularly maintaining my account and running reports. So you do need to run your report once a week to look to see what type of keyword you're being found for. If you find any that don't match what you're selling, okay, such as dog training, then you need to go into the account and add them as negatives, and it will stop it from ever happening again, and you'll save yourself a fortune. So one of the things I want you to take a quick note of is before you set an account live, or even if you've already got it running, go and add negative keywords such as free, okay, because most of us aren't in the business of doing things free. Okay, so you need to add free as a keyword, because that will stop you from appearing for, like free dog training or free Excel training or free florist. Not that they would search for a free florist, I suppose. One that, well, a series of keywords you definitely need to be aware of that I see lots of people get hit for. People seeking jobs, especially in markets like, accountants and solicitors. Add job, jobs, vacancy, vacancies, career, every job-related word you can get, because otherwise you'll end up paying and people will see your ad by accident and you'll be paying for job seekers to be calling you up. Okay, so that's a common complaint that I've had from clients. So other useful negatives that I found in the past from one of my reports that I was running, I was working for Golf Plan, who offer insurance for golfers. They were bidding on keywords such as golf insurance, okay, obviously because they offer insurance for golfers, but they were accidentally being found for keywords such as VW golf insurance, as in the car. So obviously it meant we had to go and add VW and Volkswagen and car as negatives. Okay, so there will be some that are very specific to your industry as well that you need to look out for. Okay, so what type of work should you be doing weekly? Okay, AdWords is not a magic switch. The type of thing that you should be doing weekly is testing new adverts, identifying new keywords, looking at your competitors. What are they doing? Are they reacting to you? You should be editing your bids up and down. You should be looking at your landing pages. So what are landing pages? Landing pages are the pages that people get sent to from your ads. What you don't want to be doing is sending everybody to your home page. You ideally want to send people to a specific page, ideally for that keyword, for that product. Okay, so you need to make sure that you've added new pages to your site so that you can send people from AdWords to these pages. You need to make sure you're monitoring the split between your mobile ads, your iPad ads, and your PC ads. Should you turn some of them off? Okay, so you need to watch out for that because sometimes mobile ads really work, sometimes they don't. Did you know it's possible to put bids up by up to 900% on a mobile for your mobile campaigns? So my husband's a locksmith, so I obviously run his campaigns for him. We have his mobile bid modifier set as high as it will go because people are 4 times more likely to convert for a locksmith on a mobile phone. Okay, it makes sense when you think about it, versus if they were on a PC or an iPad, because obviously they're locked out now and they need to call someone now. Okay, so you do need to keep an eye on those. Okay, so here's what you've learned so far. You've learned why most Google AdWords accounts don't work, why you must avoid the Google default settings, which keywords will bring in leads and sales and which ones you should be bidding on, tips for writing amazing adverts, and why you must be tracking if AdWords is bringing you sales, why you can't leave your AdWords account running by itself, and why there's no magic button where AdWords is concerned. It isn't something you can just turn on and off. Okay, so I've got next steps now for those of you who would like to hear about it. So if you'd like me to give you my complete blueprint and help you to get your website delivering non-stop leads, I'd love to help you. Okay, so I'm going to give you literally step by step what to do to set your AdWords account up properly. Okay, so I'm just going to go through a couple of people who are clients of mine. Okay, so if you're new to AdWords, okay, so we've got a testimonial there from Mike Bellum from True Light Sound. Okay, so he joined to learn more about using Google AdWords without giving Google all my cash. Okay, so would strongly recommend business owners starting out on AdWords invest in Claire's training before spending hundreds unaided. Okay, so Mike's one of our star pupils, has put everything into practices and is doing really, really well. If you're using AdWords already, okay, so I had somebody come on the course who thought he was a bit of an expert. Okay, so how wrong he was. Okay, so he managed to reduce spend and improve results. So in the last 2 days, my spend has nearly halved. Okay, so that was Gary Miller from New Connections. If you worry about being confused, okay, so Tom said he was previously confused by even the simplest tasks surrounding AdWords. Okay, so Tom now manages online marketing and the Google AdWords entirely by himself. Okay, so if you're technically minded, okay, so we've got Daniel who runs a mobile marketing agency. So Daniel says he wasn't new to AdWords, but he found it really useful. Okay, so I'll just flick through these. Okay, if you're in the B2B market, okay, so here's Laura. So Claire provided me with Google AdWords training and it added £50,000 per year to the turnover. Okay, oops, apologies there. Okay, let's jump forward. Okay. Okay, and then finally we've got Steve. So many of you are clients of names.co.uk or Register 365 or one of their sister brands. Okay, so names are one of my clients, and I've been working as a consultant with names. Okay, so I typically sometimes work with larger AdWords budgets, and we have people in our program with larger budgets of £50,000 a month, and some with much smaller budgets, £5 per day. Okay, so here's what the system actually involves. So it's an online education support system which has got 38 step-by-step videos. And what you would do is we start off when you book in as many account audits as you want, okay, that then point out to you where your current AdWords account needs fixing, or maybe book in a call and I can advise you on the strategy in order to get started. So we then talk live every Friday on our group course. We've got a group mastermind call. You've got 2 calls that you can book in whenever you choose, and then the system's always being updated with regular lifetime updates, so it's never going to go out of date, basically. Okay, so let me go and show you what it looks like. Okay, so let's just go and jump into it. Okay, so here's what the system looks like. Okay, so once you actually were set up in the system, here's what it would look like. You actually have a series of videos. So here's your introductory video. Okay, so here's where you would book on for your weekly calls. Okay, so we've got weekly calls every Friday. Just literally, I put them up a month at a time and you go and book on. We've got a series of videos. Okay, so we've got the overall aim. Okay, so what is the overall point of AdWords? We've got keywords, identifying buying keywords, researching keywords, different match types. That's where we go into exact, broad, phrase, modified broad, all of the different types of match types that you need to be aware of. How to structure a campaign for maximum success. How to navigate the AdWords interface. So many people get confused by the AdWords interface, so how do you find your way around it? How to set up your first campaign, set up your first advert, how to add keywords, how to add negative keywords. What is split testing adverts and how do you do it? Click-through rate, what is quality score, how to track the conversions, how to stop competitors. Okay, so this is one that I find lots of people are very keen to hear about. So how to stop competitors through something called Clicky. Okay, then we then have a variety of processes, the same processes that I created when I was running my agency that I sold last year. Okay, so that was how to set it up. Then, once it's set up, what you do on an ongoing basis. Oh, I forgot to mention you actually get full manuals as well, along with all the videos. Okay, so what you're then doing on an ongoing basis. So, where have you been spending money? So identifying where your spend's going. Stopping your competitors. What's AdWords Editor? Display network, can it sometimes work for you? So I've told you today about the display network and how it doesn't work. There are cases when it can. What are they? How to set up remarketing. So have you ever been followed around by ads? Those ads are remarketing. You can set yours up and this shows you how. Dynamic keyword insertion is when we actually put the keywords in automatically to the groups. Okay, so it's a great time saver, but there are drawbacks to it. How to research your competitors and actually download all of the keywords they're bidding on. Okay, so that's what I tend to find is one of people's favorite topics. Ad extensions and how to set them up, including mobile call extensions, site link extensions, location extensions, lots of different things you can do to your account. An example of a live account and what it looks like when it's set up. Times of day, what times of day do most people click and do most people buy things? Automated bidding rules, so you can actually set up rules so that if your ad accidentally drops on the right hand side, you can put your bid up slightly so that you jump back up in the top 3. How to share budgets between your different campaigns. We've then got a spreadsheet which is allows you to actually upload hundreds of groups, so you actually can generate a list of several hundred keywords and actually then use a spreadsheet to upload them all with matching adverts, and it means that it does all of the work for you. Okay, so how to use the spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet's also attached here as well. How to pass your AdWords exams. So some people want to go on and pass AdWords exams afterwards. Okay, how do they do that? I've got some examples, so a little downloadable PDF document with some amazing AdWords ads. Okay, so a copy of my book, and we've then got a variety of different questions and all of the updates and things that I've been recording recently. And we've then got all of the recorded coaching calls to date, okay, that have been popped on just there. Okay, and we've then got, under the bonuses, we then have lots of other things as well, so you can actually book in an audit. So if you want an audit done by me and my team, you just book it in. If you want to book in a phone call, then you quite simply just click here to book it. And there's lots of other things included in the system as well. Now, what I want to say is I don't believe in holding back content, so you do get it all immediately. So lots of people space out the content over weeks or months. You do get it all straight away, but you might not want to go through it all and sit through it all on the same day or the same few days, because it's a lot of information. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't suggest that you skip sections. Even if you already know AdWords, you do really need to go through it step by step, because it builds one step upon another. So that's how the system works. Okay, so let me just jump back into the presentation very quickly. Okay, so what I'm aware of is the fact that lots of people, while they think it's great the fact that they have that option to be able to do the entire setup, they'd still rather that we actually set up the AdWords account to start with for them. Okay, so what I've done, this is the first time we've ever tried offering this, and we only have time to take on 10 people, because obviously it's going to take us 4 hours of our time, so we actually are time limited here. Is for the first 10 people, we'll actually do the setup for you. What that then means is the fact that you can then just take over the management. So it means you've kind of got a head start, because the setup's actually done for you. Okay, so here's what it actually includes. So it's the complete 38 videos. Every Friday we've got a group coaching call. You get a £75 voucher that goes towards Google clicks, and then 2 private AdWords setup calls with me personally. You then get a Facebook support group where it's very busy. There's always people in there to answer your questions and to do networking and asking for comments or critiques, etc. Monthly updates to get your system always up to date, to make sure it's always up to date, and then your AdWords setups done for you. Okay, so I'm just going to go and show you that particular URL a minute. Okay, so, oh goodness me, it's opened my FTP software. Okay, so it's okay, so what I've done is I've just sent you a link, so we will have time for Q&A in a minute, so I will jump into the questions and answers shortly. Okay, but I just want to show you that this system, it is a complete how to do AdWords from start to finish, and it's got 38 videos, it's got the private calls, it's got weekly calls, it's got the Facebook group. It's everything you need to learn AdWords and to get an account running and working. Okay, so what you would do is you just jump to that page, and you then just click on Get Access Now. What it does is it actually sets you up with a PayPal subscription, and that would then mean it will give you immediate access, and you can then get in using a username and password that you're then asked to set up. Okay, so as I said, we've got, for the first 10 people, I've actually got the special bonus where we're actually going to do the setup for you. Okay, so we've got a 90-day guarantee in case you're unhappy with the course. If it doesn't work for you, then let us know, and we'll give you a complete refund and you get all of your money back. Okay, so just a couple of questions that I normally get asked. Do I need to carry on paying the monthly fee? Okay, so the cost of it is £197 plus VAT, and then there's a monthly fee which will keep you, because basically it's a membership site. You cancel whenever you want. Whenever you no longer want to be a member, you can cancel it. Okay, so what you're paying for is the continuous updates, to remain a member, the Facebook group, and the weekly calls. Okay, and you know, in terms of how much time you'll need, it would be an hour per week in the first month, possibly less if we do the setup for you. So if you're one of the first 10, then rather than an hour per week, you'd probably be okay with half an hour per week in the first month, because obviously we'll have done the initial setup for you. So how do I get started? Quite simply, once you've bought it, you book your first call in and we just take it from there. And then in the meantime, start watching the videos. If your site isn't ready yet, you use your first call to help advise you on the site, your landing pages, your strategy, what it is that you need to do. Right, okay, so to recap, before we move on to questions, it's going to take you to a highly successful AdWords campaign that's delivering leads in under 45 days, so normally a lot less. That's my time frame for a complete newbie when it comes to setting up an AdWords account. If you've used AdWords quite a bit before, then it's about taking things to the next level. So I'll very immodestly say I'm very good at what I do, obviously. If you search in Google, I'm the top ranked AdWords trainer all across the world. I'm very good at what I do, not because I'm naturally talented, but because I've put a huge amount of work into it, and I have over a long period of years. So what's in this training is really the culmination of many, many years of intense work, focus, study. And so by now, hopefully you can see the value you could get in the program. So with that in mind, it's now time to move over to questions and answer. So if you've got any questions, just pop them in the box and I will start going through them. Okay. Okay, so just to point out to you that I'm being asked questions about the recording. So the recording will be released to everybody who's present on the call at this point of time. The slides aren't going to be made available because we're just going to make the recording available instead, because obviously that's what I was being asked for, is lots of people wanted the recordings. So we'll send over the recording. Okay, so AdWords Editor. What's AdWords Editor, says Jeff. Jeff, it's a tool that allows you to manage AdWords offline. So basically, AdWords Editor is a tool that we used to use in my former agency. And what you would do is you can do setups, you can set up lots of groups far faster by using templates, etc. It makes it faster for actually managing accounts and for editing accounts. But the best bit is it was great for training new staff, because nothing goes live straight away. Until you actually post it, it's kind of like an offline version of AdWords. It's really clever how it works. Fantastic. David, I will see you on the other side later. And Nigel, yes, that's not a problem. Okay, so Jenny says, excellent question, Jenny. My business is career development, and you mentioned career as being a negative word. Is there any way around that? Well, I suppose you would have to think very specifically of what type of jobs in careers people might be searching for that would mean they weren't a potential lead, Jenny. So you would need to do some, some brainstorming around that. And consider what, maybe they might type in career development officer, for example, Jenny, just thinking off the top of my head. Yeah, have a think around type of keywords like that, and then maybe running your reports weekly. That would then mean that you start finding new keywords as well that you needed to add as negatives. Jim says, is there any way of finding out how much a competitor is bidding? Well, tools will give you a guess, but there's no way of telling exactly what of how much they're bidding. Generally, you can have a fairly good guess, and some tools will tell you that they're spending £10 when you know that it's actually £15 for that keyword, and you know it's just not possible it can be that cheap. So I would say yes, you can get a ballpark figure, and probably not a lot more than that, to be honest. Okay, so Gazamfar, apologies if I pronounced your name incorrectly. What would be a good budget for 750 keywords to be on top every time? Really depends on the type of keyword. You know, as I mentioned earlier, with the e-commerce keywords being as cheap as 25 pence, and locksmith keywords, locksmith London is £25 a click, really, really expensive. So it really does depend on the market. My suggestion would be try like 50 pence or a pound and see where it falls. And you see whereabouts on the page you fall. Are you in position 1? Are you in position 10? And then judge from there. But really, what should be a suitable budget would be whatever you can afford to spend to start with. Eventually, of course, what should happen is that if you start off spending £5 a day, or even £2 a day. I've had people spending £2 a day. You start off spending a little bit, you make money back, you can afford to spend more. Before you know it, you're spending £10 a day. Then you're spending £15 a day. Then you're spending £50 a day. That's how we all started off. You know, so you really just start smaller and then you start spending more time after time. There's no problem with just starting off with a small budget. Mark says, what's the best position in the top box, 1, 2 or 3? Mark, as long as you're in the top 3, we're happy with that. So I would say any of the 3. You can even be in position 3 with really good ads and be getting a better return than ads 1 and 2 because your ads are really good. Nigel says, long tail keywords for our business, is that the best route, Claire, in terms of the fact that our business is a slow burner? Nigel, just remind me some of the type of keywords that you might use. Is it things like holiday, apartment, or investment property, Spain, you know, things like that? Yeah, yes, it is, isn't it, Nigel? So property for sale in Spain. Property for sale in Spain might be a rather expensive one. And there's people right at the top of the pathway before they really made their mind up. Nigel, I'd be tempted to be going for the keywords for people where they've already decided the location they want to be in. So, you know, Marbella, Madrid, etc. You know, so that you're actually bidding on property for sale in Madrid, and you place it in England, so that you're not only targeting the English. You know, that would be my suggestion. And yeah, Nigel then says hacienda. I can't pronounce that word, Nigel. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So things like that. Yeah, that would be fantastic. Yeah. You could try Belgium and Holland as well. Yes. Yeah. And Germany, possibly. Okay. Gazamfire says, any way to know competitors' IP address so that it can be blocked? Okay, so I do take you through that in the course, but yes, you can block competitors' IP addresses. You need to find it out first, and I use a tool called Clicky, which is just clicky.com, which will show you that, their IP address. So yes, you can block them. Paul says, have you ever worked with adult-related AdWords campaigns? They're treated differently to normal campaigns. Yes, I've worked with somebody who was selling sex toys before. So yes, it's just when the ads get approved, they get approved as limited, and it means that they're only showing for, you know, specific keywords. It just means that the settings you just need to be a bit more careful with. So yes, it's fair, you know, really very similar. So there's nothing major that you need to watch out for. Okay, let me just scroll back through some of these keywords. Rosemary says, how do I know how much I should bid? Okay, so it's a fairly similar question to the one. I probably could have grouped it with the other one. But Rosemary, yeah, you would probably just test a bid, see whereabouts on the page that you fall. Are you in position 1 when you bid £1, or are you in position 10, which is right over on the right-hand side? And ideally you want to be in the top 3. So you basically put a test bid in first and then bid up or down according to where you fall. So that's my suggestion. Okay, it's the same for you, Paul. Okay, so I've got lots of questions about bidding. Desiree says, I purchased lots of domains with keywords in them. Is pointing them to my page still helpful, or did I waste my money? Now, this is a really interesting question. Now, you can it has been proven that you can increase click-through rate with a different domain. So I was doing this once when I was working with a PPI client, you know, in payment protection insurance, which, and for those of you who aren't in the UK, it's a very, very big oversold form of insurance that there's been a big scandal about reclaiming because it was missold very badly here in the UK. So they were testing domains like ppIreclaim.co.uk and reclaimppi.co.uk rather than their normal brand name. And yes, it would, running those type of tests, it nearly doubled click-through rate with a different domain name. So yes, you definitely can, and no, you didn't waste your money. So definitely worth testing to zero. Rob says, where's the broad match setting? So it's no actual broad match setting that you need to watch out for. But basically, when you enter a keyword into your account, by default, you will have entered it as broad match, whether you realize it or not. So, in fact, let me just go and type in an example. Let me find a little space on the page to type in. Okay, so let's say that you went and you typed in, let's go back to our Nursery Bristol example. Let's say you were going to type in the keyword Nursery Bristol. That would be, whether you realized it or not, that would be a broad keyword. Now the way around it is to put plus nursery. Okay, you keep the space in and you then put plus Bristol. Now what that does is you've turned the normal broad setting off, and it means you've no longer given Google free rein to match it against anything you want to match it against. It means that instead of being able to match Nursery Bristol against Nursery Nurses Bristol, Childcare Bristol, Nannies Bristol, some of which might be some use, but some of it probably wouldn't be, it means it now has to pick very similar words. That's the relevance of the plus. So that's where the default setting is, basically. It's for all of your keywords, you go back and you put plus in front of each of the words. Okay, so I've got plus nursery, space, plus Bristol. Okay, so that's how to get around the broad setting. Okay. Oh, somebody wants clicky.com for, oops, I'm going to misspell that. It's clicky.com. Let me just send that to you. Now, did you just get sent that as a little message, all of you? Okay, because I tried to send it to all of you. Did it come through? Yeah, all right. Thank you, Jim. Jim said yes. Okay, so Jim says, how quickly can you change a bid? You can change it extremely quickly. So literally just takes a second. You know, it's really, really easy to do. So very quickly. Tricia says, if I put plus florist, would that ignore floral flowers florist? No, it would still pick up those variations, Tricia. But what it would do is not match against quite outlandish things. So, you know, it's still one of those judgment calls. It might still occasionally get it wrong, but it would be a lot closer. Nigel says, would I need access to your account in Google? Yes, indeed I would, Nigel. To be able to do the audits would make sense, and to obviously do the setup. So yes, we would need access. Cheryl says, should we pay attention to the average cost per click column in the keyword planner? We'll certainly have a look at it, yes. Yeah. It'll give you a ballpark figure at least, Cheryl. Cheryl says, can you explain again how to track leads through a web form? Okay, what you need is a thank you page. So you get your web designer to design a thank you page so that when you've got a little form, so let me go and show you. Let's go and pop into an example. Okay, so you will notice that most websites will have little forms that you can fill in. So here's an example just here. Okay, so can you see this little form here? Okay, yours might be request a callback or contact me or book a call or something like that. This form is used instead of an email address. And as soon as this form is completed, it goes to a thank you for contacting us page. On the thank you for contacting us page, that's the page where you'll then be able to track the conversions. Okay, so that's how it works. Okay, so Nigel, in terms of landing pages and what converts, you've already said that you're going to be joining the course, so that would be something. We do include landing page audits, and we could definitely have a chat about that on one of your calls, and I could have a look through and review them. So yeah, would be ideal to do it at that point. Okay. Mark says, can you run 2 different websites with 2 different ads selling the same product? Google told me not. Yes, you can, and I've got plenty of clients who do, Mark. So you'll notice that, for example, names. Names have multiple brands. You can actually bid on the same keywords with different brands. If it's a different brand, even if it's owned by the same company, it doesn't matter. Okay, you're still allowed to do it as long as it's a different brand. I'm trying to think of another example. There's been lots of times when we've done it. I'm about to start testing it myself we bought the domain budgetlocksmiths.co.uk because I've got a feeling that some people that are searching for locksmiths are budget sensitive, price sensitive. You've got a lot of people that call in who are price sensitive, so I'm going to start testing different URLs, having 2 different places on the front page as well. So absolutely, yes, you can do. Okay, John says, will the course help with how to word an ad? I'm a hypnotherapist in London. How does the audit work and how often can we do it? So John, it's 6 audits. Having said that, if you are still a member and in a year's time you've had your 6 audits, I'm more than happy to extend it. I've just put 6 as a generic number, to be honest. So you can have it audited once a month if you want to, John. So if you're a hypnotherapist in London, would it help how to word an ad? Well, we have templates set up where you can actually use it to generate, where you generate the keywords, you then input the keywords, and it will generate lots of ads and keywords that you can then input into the account. So yes, it would help from that respect. And then there's also a PDF document which has got a good about 200 adverts, examples of good ads, so you would be able to use that and get best practice as well. That's a great question, Girl. So Girl says, I see some ads show Google Plus followers. Is this picked up automatically from our Google Plus account, and does it help with click-through rates? Yeah, that's one of another ad extension. So we've got lots of different types of ad extensions, and they're adding new ones all the time. So they're about to introduce image extensions and video extensions, which will be really exciting because you'll be able to actually put a little video of your product actually within the ad, which I think would be fantastic. So the Google Plus followers, that's the social extension. Personally, I don't believe it works. Not when you think that it might be taking space you could use for a better extension. So I'd rather have one of the other extensions instead. But yes, it does link through to your Google Plus account. But your Google Plus account does need to be verified. So I think you need like 1,000 followers or something. There's quite a lot of followers you need before it works automatically. But yes, it would help with click-through rates, but I'd still rather have a different other type of the ad extensions instead, Girl. Mark says, does the trust pilot, do you mean as in the stars, Mark, to help click-through rate? So is that, I expect some of you have probably seen it. Yeah, Mark says yes. So you've probably seen it where you can get a out of 5-star rating, and it actually appears within the ad. Let's see if we can find an example. Okay, so here's an example. Yeah, so that would be something like Trustpilot. So yes, I can strongly believe that that does actually increase click-through rate. It does actually, apparently it links through automatically to Google. But I have had clients before who've had problems getting the two to link. But yes, it would increase click-through rate, so it is worth doing. Jim says, a service like a school or a boarding kennel, can you really have different landing pages for one service? Well, I mean, a way around it is to maybe put one different bit of your USP or a feature of your service, for example, on different pages. So, for example, back to the locksmith example, we have one page which is about how fast, how fast you can get there, like 15 to 30 minutes. One which is about the fact that, it's different areas, so Bristol, Bath, North Somerset, etc. One about the fact that you take credit cards, cash, checks, etc., so the payment methods. And so you can see that you can have different landing pages for different bits of your USP. So, and ideally you would split it up further if possible. Yeah, I would recommend that you do if possible. So Gazanfar says how to show the keyword in the display URL. So that's dynamic keyword insertion, and that is covered in the course. So yes, that is possible. It's called DKI, dynamic keyword insertion. John says, does it include support for SEO as well? It doesn't, John. I have a separate SEO product, which is I ran a webinar last Thursday on SEO for people, and it is a separate product, but obviously the two are linked together, and I have lots of people who are members of both courses. Right, I think I might miss some questions. I'm just going to scroll through a minute. Tricia says, how can the thank you page identify who's come from AdWords rather than someone who's visited our site by other means? Tricia, what we can do is it generates a thank you code that you put on the thank you page, and that code tells AdWords. So that's all covered in the course, is how to actually generate the code. But it's, it's very simple to do. It basically just means that Google can tell if they came from AdWords. It's easier than it sounds. I appreciate it sounds a bit confusing. Gazanfire says, does putting phone number in an ad text help other than the call extension? You're no longer allowed to do it. So you're not allowed to have a phone number in the main bit of the ad because you now have it here. Okay, can you see that example there? So in that example, that's what's called a call extension. So you're no longer allowed it here in the ad. You have to have it as a call extension. So that quite simply answers that. You can't anymore, unfortunately. Okay, John says, how do you join the SEO course as well? Let me just send you a link to it a minute. Okay, so right, I believe that's the link that I should have just sent through to you, John. Okay, so there's the link. And then for those of you who weren't on the SEO webinar, the webinar is, I'm taking the replay down. There was a video of the SEO webinar if you want to go and watch it. Let me just send it to you. I was going to take it down tonight, but what I'll do is I will keep it up until tomorrow for you all. So if you weren't on the SEO webinar and you want to watch it, then hopefully let me know if that link works. If it doesn't work, let me know, because obviously I've just typed that from memory and I think it works, but not 100% sure. Mark says, do you do class-based AdWords training? I do indeed. So basically, the course that you're buying is exactly the same as my face-to-face course. So my face-to-face courses are here. Okay. And you can see that I've got a variety of dates running in London and Bristol. So I'm in London 16th and 17th of September, Bristol 13th and the 14th of August. Next one, 14th, 15th of October, etc. What I would say is that it's exactly the same course. What I've done is recorded the 2 days worth of courses and added to it. So it does actually work out more cost effective to buy the online course. And if you want to, and I've said this to people before, if you want to come on a face-to-face course as well, I'm more than happy to actually I've offered people places before. I'm more than happy to give you a place on the face-to-face courses for free if you want to, if you buy the online course, so that's kind of like a freebie for you. So I've got a couple of people who are going to be doing that. So the SEO link is working. Yeah, right, okay. Let me go and... Okay, so this is where the SEO course is. Okay, so it should be that one. And then let me just go and grab up the replay link a minute. And then the replay is, yeah, you can see I've got it marked so it says it's coming down in 2 hours. What I'll do is I'll extend that for you. And then there's the replay link as well. Gazanvar says, my ad's still got a phone number in the ad at the moment. It will be taken down very shortly. So at the moment it's still been allowed. Your ads will get disapproved soon. It would probably be a good idea to remove it sooner rather than later if I were you. So yeah, the phone numbers were allowed in ads. It's recently been changed, especially with enhanced campaigns, which was something that another of Google's recent changes. So if I were you, then I would remove them sooner rather than later, definitely. But are the links working for you now? One says, how do you get onto the shops for section on Google? So they're slightly different. You need to set up a Google merchant account and then you need to set up product listing ads. So they're slightly different. They're not currently covered in the course. They are fairly simple to set up, and I've been told that the strategies are fairly similar, but that they're not currently covered at the moment. Gail says, do I do webinars on social media? I will be doing them very shortly for Names and Register 365 customers. If you're on my list, I will be emailing you about them as well. So yes, you will be able to hop on. Laurie says, do I only offer the courses in the UK? I do. To be honest, I hardly run any of the face-to-face courses because everybody wants the online course now. So I've got probably 120 members of the online course. So it just means that people just don't, people prefer the online course. And obviously because it comes with the ongoing support, they just aren't as bothered about the face-to-face course. So yeah, it's only UK, and even those I'm getting less people booking on because they want the online stuff instead, Laurie. Laurie says none of the links are working for me, but I've got lots of you saying they do work. How strange. And yes, I'm going to extend the SEO webinar replay, so I'll extend it for you till tomorrow. Not quite sure what's happening there, Laurie. Maybe have a check from a different computer or something afterwards. That's a bit strange. Okay. Scrolling through to check if I've missed any. Gazanfire, yep. Auditing the campaigns, you do get up to, well, as I said, up to 6 audits included in the course. So yes, it does come with audits, and as I said, more than happy to do more than that if you want to. So yes, that's not a problem. Gail, fantastic. Yep, yeah, give it a go, definitely. No, Laurie, it definitely does work. Yeah, maybe try from a different computer. That does seem a bit strange. Yeah. Okay, so let me just send you the link again for the product. Okay, so what I will do is I'll put the replay up, and I will put the replay up on this particular page. So what I'll do is I'll put the replay. What you'll do is you'll scroll down, and I'll actually put a link to the video down here, down the bottom. Okay, and I will do that. I'll go and, once I finish now, I will go and start uploading the video. It will need to convert, so it probably won't be up until tomorrow morning. But for those of you that are still up at this stage, you know, that are still watching at this stage, well done to you. So we've still got over, well, probably about 75% of you are still on at this point. So I will, you know, pop it, embed the video near the bottom, and it'll be a video, Simon, so it won't just be the audio, it'll be the entire webinar. Okay, any other questions before we go? Okay, right, well, glad you enjoyed it. Yep, fantastic. Good luck to those of you who are going to be getting started. Yep, good luck to you. Yep, you're welcome, everybody. And in fact, let me just send you a link through to the, maybe if you wouldn't mind just leaving a quick comment on my Facebook page as well, just to say that you were on the webinar, to say hello, and then I can go and comment back and say it was lovely to see you, and you know, then we'll take it from there. Okay, but it was lovely to see you all, and I'll see you all again soon.